stop beating yourself up. It's crazy how mean some of us are to ourselves and how bad, we could just get down on ourselves and beat ourselves up over a mistake or messing up in a certain area. And, I know for me that was something that I struggled with so much growing up. Like I've mentioned before, I grew up in church and I was very religious. And for me, it was like anytime I made a mistake or I sinned or I did something that I didn't feel was right, oh my gosh, the guilt and the shame and the way I would beat myself up and feel like God was going to punish me and all these things that were just so unhealthy, and I had to really, really learn how to change the relationship I have to myself, with myself, and remove that shame and guilt and stop beating myself up so much, because at the end of the day, it's really not doing anything good for you. All it's doing is making you, start this negative loop, this negative cycle that keeps you stuck in that state. And it keeps you just, recycling these negative thoughts about a mistake you made, yesterday or 2 days ago or last week. You know what I mean? And it's just a really, really negative loop and a negative cycle. And I think it's something that a lot of people struggle with. I know me included, and we got to really do a better job at just not beating ourselves up so much. You know what I mean? I think about, how we don't do that with other people. Like if you have a friend or you have somebody in your life that's maybe learning something for the first time or trying something new or, trying to do something and they make a mistake or they mess up, you have compassion for that person. You have patience with that person, right? But why don't we give that same patience and compassion to ourselves? Why are we so mean to ourselves? Why do we look so, negatively upon ourselves? And I love the analogy of, a baby. Like, when a baby is learning how to walk, every time the baby stumbles and falls, you don't beat the baby up. You don't start yelling at the baby. You don't start, being mean to the baby. No, you understand that it is a process. And through the journey of that baby learning how to walk, it is going to fall down sometimes. And that is okay, because that's part of it, right? And that's how you have to look at your life. Like, this journey that you're on of growing and of becoming the best version of yourself is a journey. It's a lifelong journey, right? And along that journey, you are going to make mistakes. You are going to have certain, days that don't feel as good as others, where maybe you miss a habit or you're not as consistent in a certain area, right? But you have to understand it is a journey. It's a journey, and there's so much for you, when you make a mistake or you mess up, that if you were able to just stop beating yourself up and look at these moments in time as opportunities to learn something about yourself, to grow in a certain area, it would help you tremendously. You know what I mean? And that slight mindset shift helped me so much when it came to, messing up or doing something that wasn't aligned with where I was trying to go. Looking at every single situation, every single moment as an opportunity for me to grow, right? And yes, it's okay to, be accountable and to be hard on yourself sometimes, like, yo, come on, man, or, come on, we gotta get this better, or we gotta start taking steps in this direction, whatever it may be. But, beating yourself up, that doesn't really do you any good. You know what I mean? It does not do you any good. And I know for me, like when I would get into this cycle of just beating myself up over a mistake or a mess up, it would keep me thinking about that mistake for the next week or 2 weeks, instead of just learning from it, growing from it, and then moving on and taking steps and getting back on track and moving back in the right direction, And that's one of the negative aspects of beating yourself up. It's like it can literally keep you stuck in that moment for way longer once that moment is gone. And it's like you got to leave that moment where it is and learn from it. Like we said, be accountable, be real with yourself, but also have compassion for yourself, have patience with yourself, and understand that you're a human being trying to learn, trying to grow, still trying to evolve, still trying to figure things out, right? On my Wagos podcast, I made an episode titled Progression Over Perfection. And, I tie that back into this. It's like, we're not trying to be perfect along this journey. We are not trying to get everything right, because we won't. You know what I mean? There's nobody in the history of life that's been perfect at anything. Everybody's made mistakes. Everybody's messed up, right? So, if you can just switch from perfection to progression and understand that even through the mess ups, even through the mistakes, even through the times where I feel like I take a step back or I don't feel as good, I can learn something from it, and I can progress and grow through those moments. It will help you tremendously. You know what I mean? It will help you tremendously. And a lot of times, what keeps us doing unhealthy habits is the way that we beat ourselves up. Like, we beat ourselves up so much that our self-esteem and our self-confidence just starts to dwindle. It starts to just get lower and lower. And now we just feel horrible about ourselves. So even though we don't want to do the habit, we just don't have any self-esteem or any confidence or feel good enough to even do the right thing, that we just continue to do the wrong thing. You know what I mean? We continue to fall into the trap of negative thinking or negative habits or whatever it may be, because of the way that we're beating ourselves up, right? And that self-talk is so important, for your growth and for your journey. And you have to really, really focus on changing the relationship you have to yourself. You have to look at yourself how you would look at a little kid trying to learn how to walk or ride a bike for the first time, right? And although that kid might eventually grow up to be an adult, we as adults, or we as older people, we still trip and fall sometimes. Like, literally, like, you'll be walking down the street, sometimes you trip over a curb, or you catch your heel on the back of your foot or something like that, and you fall over. I mean, you're not going to beat yourself up about it. You just laugh it off and be like, oh dang, like, that's just part of life. It's a mistake. And you understand that you're not going to be tripping every step, but some steps you will trip, because that is part of walking, right? And so as you go on this journey of growing into the best person that you were made to be and becoming the best version of yourself, have compassion for yourself, have grace for yourself, be patient with the journey, and understand that it's going to be okay. And you don't have to beat yourself up so much. You know what I mean? You don't have to beat yourself up so much. And so many people do it. I see it all the time, and it's something that I struggled with for the longest. And I was like, listen, man, I cannot keep hurting myself like this. Like, you're literally hurting yourself by just beating yourself up all the time. And a lot of the stuff we say to ourselves is so nasty and so mean, and we would never say that to another person, but we say it to ourselves, So just really focus on not beating yourself up so much, having compassion with yourself, and understanding that it's a journey and it's going to be okay. And, like I said, that slight mindset shift to understand that every mistake you make, every mess up, every setback, every bad decision that you deem as bad in your life, every one of those moments holds with it a seed of opportunity for you to grow or for you to learn something along this journey of life. And it's a beautiful thing. And so now, instead of beating yourself up over a mistake, you look at mistakes like, oh, let me take a step back. Let me have a conversation with myself. Let me look at my life. Look at the steps that, led me to get into making this mistake or this decision or whatever it may be. And let me see if there's something in here that I can maybe tweak a little bit or learn from to help me move forward, right? So embrace the journey. Take it day by day, step by step. Have compassion for yourself. Be patient. Let's really change our relationship to ourselves to where we're not beating ourselves up. We're encouraging ourselves through the mistakes and through this journey we call life.